The Accu-Wedge is a system for the cutting of wedges for segmented wood turning, utilizing the bandsaw. In this video, I'll describe the auto-indexing table on our new patent-pending Accu-Wedge system to demonstrate how and why it works. I'll begin by first removing the Accu-Wedge system from the Accu-Slice rail, and I'll take it over to the bench so I can better explain exactly how it works. The Accu-Wedge uses two fences mounted onto the auto-index table with two pivot points located close to the bandsaw blade. On the opposite of the fence, we have an index pin and a locking bolt. On the auto-index table, we have a number of small indentation points. These indentation points have been precision machined to a precise location on the Accu-Wedge table by our CNC machine shop. This will enable the indexing pin to lock into these indentation points at an exact location, thereby setting the fences at the precise angle needed for the selected number of wedges per segment ring, which is indicated on the table. The resulting accuracy of these two fences is better than 1/10 of a degree. If I remove one of the fences, I can show you just how this works. To remove the fences, I first unscrew the locking bolt on the far end of the fence with a nut underneath the table, which will drop down. And then I unscrew the pivot bolt on the opposite end of the fence, and that will release the fence completely from the table. Both of these bolts are precision machine shoulder bolts, and these bolts ride on the hole in the fence. When I turn this fence upside down, you notice the indexing pin extends below the bottom of the fence. This pin can be raised or lowered from the top of the fence with a small screwdriver, should any future adjustment be necessary. It's this indexing pin that seats itself into the small indentation points on the table to determine the fence angle. You'll notice that the position of the indents on the table are laser engraved with a number of segments that can be produced at this setting. With the Accu-Wedge, you can make segmented rings from 4 up to 72 segments per ring in 17 steps. We've even included the odd numbers 5, 7, and 9. You just need to dial the number of segments you need for your project and start cutting. There's no need for wedges or angles to determine the wedge angles. Using this auto-indexing system, precision wedges can be cut with no math, no measuring, and no further adjustments. The wedges produced at this setting by the user will be perfect every time and will give you segmented rings with no gaps between any of the joints. I'll now reassemble the fence to further demonstrate how the Accu-Wedge works with the auto-indexing table. Okay, now I've installed the Accu-Wedge back on the Accu-Slice table and ready to make another set of discs. In the previous video, I made this 8-sided segmented disc with alternating contrasting woods meeting perfectly in the center. And this is very difficult doing a bandsaw to get these points to be exactly meeting in the center with no gap. But with the Accu-Wedge on the bandsaw, you can get nice sharp points and get perfect wedges. But in this video, I'm going to make a conventional segmented ring, and I'm using some contrasting woods here. I have some Spanish cedar, and I think this is Grandolo, contrasting woods. And I'm going to be making some 18 segments per disc rings. And this ring I'm actually going to make 4 inches in diameter. I'll probably be cutting this later to make some tornado type pattern bowls. So I'm going to begin by first of all getting my Accu-Wedge set up. So I need to rotate my fences to 18 segments. And you'll hear it actually click in position as you go along. And when it reaches 18, I need to lock it in position. Make sure this lock is released, and then move this to the 18 position and then lock it in place once again. And that's all there is to set up the Accu-Wedge table. So after I have my fences all set to 18 segments per inch, the first thing I want to do is get my first cut on the board. And I turn my laser beam on so I can actually see where I'm going to cut. And pushing the wood against my fence and down with my clamp so it's held snugly in place. Then I'll go ahead and get my first. Now I use the Wood Turner Pro software, and I know from that software that my segments need to be 0.71 inches wide. So I mark that position, and then on I adjust my wedges so my laser beam matches right up at 0.71, and I can use my Accu-Stop to adjust that position. Okay, I just moved the camera over so you can see exactly how this laser beam is working with the Accu-Stop. And the Accu-Stop, I can move my piece against the stop, and then my laser beam will meet right at that line, so I know my piece will be exactly 71 thousandths of an inch. If it's a little bit too long or too short, I can loosen my clamp. I loosen my clamp here, adjust it, and retighten it, so I can move it a small amount if I'm off by 5 thousandths or 10 thousandths. That's where this laser beam is nice to show me exactly where my cut is going to be when I go through the bandsaw. And then I go and repeat the cuts on the second board. And there I've completed my cuts, and I'll take these wedges over now and give them a light sand to get rid of the fuzzies and the burrs, and we'll see how they look when they're assembled. So there I made my 2 rings from those 18 segments from each of those blocks. This ring is perfect after sanding. This ring, I have a little bit of a space here, and it's probably because there's a burr on one of the inside edges of one of these pieces. So I'll just take those again and just give a light sanding on the inside edge, and that should get rid of it. What I'm doing, that one that was off, is off a little hair, I'm just going to sand that a little pressure on the inside edge and clean all those inside edges up. And now we have a perfect ring, no gaps at all. So a couple other discs I've made. This one is 24 segments, and this one is 36 segments. and nice perfect cuts.